USA Warrior Stories is a not-for-profit organization designed to record, archive, and share videos of veteran stories, to help veterans make a connection with one another and to help us all better understand their sacrifices for our freedoms.
I'm Jacqueline Gordon. My friends call me Jackie. And I grew up in Hollis, Queens. I was born in Jamaica, West Indies, not Jamaica, Queens. My parents immigrated to the United States when I was 7 years old. I am the first person in my family to serve in the United States military.
You're reaching deep inside you.
When I was 20 years old, I saw the Army commercial that most old-timers know that said, "We do more before 9 a.m. than most people do all day." And I liked what I saw. I saw teamwork. I saw getting the job done. I saw working hard. I saw serving this nation, a nation that had given my family and myself lots of opportunities since we immigrated here. And so my best friend and I went down to the recruiting station, and that's how I signed up. I went in through a program called Split Option, and because I was in college. So this program allowed you to go to basic training in the summer, and the following summer you were able to do your job training, which is AIT. I saw the enlisted side, which I was enlisted, I was a PFC, and I saw the officer corps, and I saw officers, and I saw that the officer corps did the planning and did the strategic thinking, and so I felt that I would be better suited as an officer. And so when I went back to school, I found out about the ROTC program, and I joined ROTC, and I wanted Medical Service Corps was actually my first choice. But I got MP. I was actually the only person in my ROTC that did not get their first choice. I don't know why, but showing up to my reserve unit, I was the only female in the unit. So my guess would be that perhaps they needed to begin to integrate the MP Corps. And so I showed up at my unit, and I'm the only female, and that was for probably the next maybe 12 to 18 months. So it was tough. It was in the days when there were still pinups on the wall, cursing like you don't want to know, and not really caring, many of them, that you're in the room, you know, what's being said. And so you have to learn how to deal with that, because even if you go to hire, your hire are men who don't understand why you're offended because they don't have your point of view. We were reservists, so we meet 1 weekend a month, and we had training. So I was deployed 4 times. I was deployed for Desert Storm. We did backfill. So we went to Germany and we did law and order operations in and about Hanau, Frankfurt, Baumholder. We had units in Wiesbaden and Darmstadt. The unit that we replaced went overseas to Southwest Asia, and so now we had to do their mission in Germany, which was law and order, which was very interesting for us, and because we were actually combat MPs. We weren't garrison MPs, but reservists always step up, and that's what really makes us unique and special and significant when it comes to military operations, because we have that flexibility, primarily because of our civilian capacity as well. So we don't just come with our military skill set, we all bring along our civilian skill sets, and allows us to be flexible in times like these. Oftentimes, when you come home, sliding back into your life is not so easy. I was a teacher at that time. I was working in New York City. I came back home, and there was a new principal at my school, and he didn't know who I was, so he reassigned my position. I got a coveted kindergarten. When I left, I taught first grade. So a jump from first grade to kindergarten is not so bad, but if I had been teaching, you know, 5th grade and had to go to kindergarten, or high school and had to go to, you know, or something like that, it would have been a huge adjustment. in 93. Right after Desert Storm, I moved to Long Island. I'm in high school, I'm a guidance counselor. As MPs, we anticipated being called up fairly quickly after 9/11, which didn't happen. And so September 2001 happened, and we all, were at the unit, and we were ready to go, and we weren't called up. A year passed, and in January 2002, we got the call, and we were going to Guantanamo Bay. I had 2 weeks to get my affairs in order, to figure out what I'm going to do with my children. I was a single mom. I am a single mom. The plan was that my mother was going to keep the children if I got deployed, but since we didn't get deployed, my mother lived in Queens, and so she figured, let me sell my house, I'll move out here, and she just got a buyer. And I just was in a quandary. And we pulled up in this driveway, and my friend said, Jackie, my sister and I will take the children. And so I was able to focus the next 2 weeks on just getting the finances in order, putting everything together, getting my kids set, and they took my kids. That was Gitmo. When we got there, Camp X-Ray, which is the familiar picture that you see like on the news, in the media with the chain link fence, that's what was there when we got there. And I would say there were less than 100 detainees there. And when we left Guantanamo Bay, my unit, there were probably around 400 detainees, and we had began to build Camp Delta, which is what is there now. I just did my job. You're not necessarily having great interactions with the detainees. We were not privy to Cuba proper. Cubans do not come over to Guantanamo Bay, and military folks, you cannot just go back and forth, except there was an agreement that Cubans who were working on base could continue to work on base. And there were Cubans who chose to retire and live on Guantanamo Bay after they had finished their service for the United States. So there were a group of us, we called ourselves a group of friends, and we formed this fellowship, and we actually would go around to the shut-ins because they weren't able to get out, and we would visit with them and talk to them. So that was really a nice highlight for me. And also the DOD school is there, so really as soon as I hit the ground in Gitmo, I found the school, and I started going to the school once a week on my own time and reading to the school children because it's the teacher in me. I just wanted to really connect with those young people. I get deployed, and I come back. 6 months later, I get deployed again, this time to Iraq. By that time, my mother had moved out here, and so that deployment, they stayed with my mother, and that deployment was 14 months. So that was a really, really long deployment. So what ended up happening is, just because the way the school years fell, I missed almost the entire middle school for my daughter. I did come home on leave, but I left in January of 2003, and I came home in March of 2004. So I missed that whole year of her life. I'm emotional right now, and it's since 2002. Yeah, I don't get over that. When I went up to Iraq, it was unbelievable. We were in Kuwait. I served under General Karpinski, and she was one of the, or maybe the first female general to serve in that combat environment. And so I was proud to serve with her. I get to Iraq like 3:30 in the morning. My head is pounding because I haven't eaten. And I get to Iraq, it's like 3:30 in the morning. It's like 110 degrees already. and it's blazing hot, and we are bedded down in one of Saddam's palaces. And so they have the females on the top floor, which is customary. And so I have all my belongings, like 2 big duffel bags, another bag, like everything, weapons, everything. And I have to carry all of this stuff. My head is pounding. It's 3:30 in the morning, 110 degrees. I go upstairs, I get all the way up. And there's this huge room in the center of this palace. And the balcony is just filled with women just half dressed because it's so hot. Everyone is outside sleeping and inside is completely empty. And I don't get it because I just got there. And then once I walked in the room, it was like a pizza oven. Because the floor is marble, the walls are marble, the ceiling is marble. It's just like you're cooking. And I just laid there and looked up. And I'm laying on the cot and my hands are like on my legs. I'm laying on the cot and I just start to feel perspiration running down. And I'm like, welcome to Iraq. We had the entire law and order mission in the country of Iraq, except for a few prisons and jails in Baghdad, I believe, that the active duty MPs had. But the reserve, our unit, had the entire country of Iraq. There's one soldier, he didn't deploy with me, but he was a part of my unit. He was laterally transferred to another unit and to Iraq, and then he passed away. It's Michael Gonzalez. His life was taken. And I am still in touch with his mom. We'll always be in touch with his mom. We are grateful to him for his service. So, and there are others too, but he is someone that I knew personally. When I missed the entire year of my daughter's life because of the unilateral decision of the person in the Oval Office, I thought if I get involved in my local government, then I get to have a say in who is chosen as a local representative and who will maybe continue to rise to the rank of president. And so when I came home, I found my way to my local party and I said, I want to get involved. And I did get involved that year. There was a position coming up on the Babylon Town Board, and they thought that I might be a good fit for that and asked if I wanted to run. And after discussing it with my children, we decided to run. And so that's how I got involved in local government. You have to be the change you want to see. And so that's what I did. And when I went into government, I governed the way I wanted to see government. And so I was serious about my constituents. You know, they were important to me. So constituent services were like, that was my #1 priority. I had my last deployment to Afghanistan, and that was in 2012. Our mission was actually to mentor the Afghan army. Every soldier in my battalion had a counter soldier in the Afghan battalion that they would mentor. So I had 2 Afghan battalion commanders that I mentored, and my command sergeant major, my XO, my medic, my, cook, all the way down. And we worked hand in hand to help them bring their facility up, because it's their facility, bring their facility up to speed. One of the Afghan commanders that I was working with, he had 4 children. 2 were girls. Both his girls were in college, and he was proud of that. They were learning English. He was proud of that as well. And so that's a little contrary to what we would often hear. In my experience in Afghanistan, in Iraq, just my travels in general all over the world, there's a common humanity. And I find that most people want to live a decent life, work hard, take care of their family, and put a little bit away so that they can retire with dignity, no matter where they are. That's what I've found. My students, they always say, "Miss, did you kill anyone?" And I say to them, well, we did detention operations, so we don't kill them, we just lock them up. And so everyone in the military is not killing people. You know, most people are not. I am a member of VFW, I'm a member of American Legion. When I was a councilwoman, we had a Veterans Advisory Board in the town of Babylon, and so I was able to breathe life into it and to really make it more robust to what it is today. One of the things that we were able to do was to bring Soldier Ride to the town of Babylon. In my 13 years that I was at the board, we had Soldier Ride for 13 years, and we were able to raise over $1 million.
So we have a special partnership with Wounded Warrior Project, and half of the money that we raise with Wounded Warrior Project stays right here on Long Island. And this year, the proceeds will go to Long Island Cares, the Harry Chapin Food Bank, directly targeted at veterans who need food safety. So let's give them a round of applause.
And the reason these things are important to me, because we talked a little bit about that adjustment, right? When you come home, that adjustment. I'm not sure that veterans ever get back to the life that they had before they left. But we want to make sure that veterans get as close to it as possible. And so these services and these connections, talking to people who speak your language, who understand your experience, is important. And the veterans organizations help to knit those people together. And that's the purpose of them. And so that's why it's important to support these organizations.